At 6:32 a.m., two officers stood on my porch while the HOA president pointed at my locked side gate like it was a crime scene. She was breathless and certain, saying I'd blocked a public walkway. And I remember thinking as I held my coffee that somehow locking my own gate had turned into an emergency. The older cop rubbed his temples and said, "This looks like a civil matter," and that's when I knew this wouldn't end with neighborly talk. It would end with proof. I'm Evan Carter, new to a small ranch house in Oak Ridge Crossing, Lakefield, Colorado. The kind of place with oak shade and Saturday lawn mowers and a creek where kids skim sticks. After dinner, I bought quiet on purpose because my day job is loud, and home was supposed to be the one place without sprint stand-ups and bug triage. But then a tall kid in gym shorts started cutting across my backyard every morning around 5:05, like my grass was a sidewalk to the fitness center. First time I shrugged. Fifth time, my marigolds were flattened. 10th time, my little herb fence was kicked crooked. So I installed cameras and then a simple wooden gate that matched the fence. Nothing ugly. Clicked a padlock and exhaled. For the first time since moving in, the kid, I'd learn his name was Chase, rattled the latch at dawn like willpower could melt steel, and by breakfast, his mother, Monica Price, our HOA president, with the crisp polo and clipboard energy, had called 911 and marched up my steps, preaching community access. "You can't obstruct the common path," she said, with that patient menace, and I said as evenly as I could, "There's no public anything behind that gate. If there's a recorded easement, show it to me." Officer Nguyen glanced at the hinge and the fence line and the narrow gravel run beside my house. Officer Keller gave that tired cop half shrug. That means he's seen this show before, and they left us with advice that boiled down to act like adults. 2 hours later, a violation notice slid under my door. Remove unauthorized structure within 5 days, or pay $250. The box checked for barrier impeding community flow. And the next morning at 6:10, Monica knocked with another copy in a manila folder. Rules, Carter. If you'd submitted an architectural change request, we could have guided you, she said, smile like a blade. And I asked for the bylaws section and any recorded easement tied to my lot. Her smile tightened. Standards are common sense, precedent matters, she said, and I said, the county recorder's office matters more. She exhaled through her nose and left like a queen. Exiting disappointing theater. That's when the social part started, the weird chill at the mailbox. The neighbor who suddenly found the inside of his garage very interesting. When I waved the anonymous note tucked under my doormat in block letters. Stop dividing us. You're not welcome here. And I took a photo, slipped it in a plastic bag, and heard my dad's voice in my head. When bureaucracy creeps into life, you document everything. Feelings can argue forever. Paper outlasts noise. You know what I mean. By the weekend, Monica had a folding table near the playground with yellow flyers and a clipboard. Bright tone, careful phrasing. If we let one person build arbitrary barriers, what's next? And the photo of my 3-foot gate was framed like it swallowed the sky. Wednesday, I was on a work call, pretending to care about a burn-down chart, while she and 2 friends tucked those flyers under windshield wipers. Up and down our street. A guy walking past me muttered without looking up. Some people don't get how neighborhoods work, and I wanted to knock on doors and debate everyone. But instead, I opened a new folder on my laptop labeled Evidence and started building a spine. Friday morning, I was waiting in the county recorder's parking lot. Before the doors unlocked, inside smelled like old paper and ozone. A clerk named Dorothy slid her finger down the plat key and said, "No recorded easements across, lot." 23, she printed a certified letter on county letterhead, saying exactly that, thunked a seal on it like a small gavel then. I hired a local surveyor, Trent Lawson, who showed up in a dusty Tacoma with science fiction gear. He found the corner monuments planted, bright orange flags measured down to inches, and handed me a stamped report. "Your gate's well inside your boundary. No right of way," he said, and while the flags were still catching morning sun, a city inspector, Miguel Alvarez, arrived on a complaint about unpermitted construction. Blocking public access, he measured, yet the survey took photos. "Within your line, standard residential gate complaint. Unfounded," he said, and handed me his memo. That afternoon, HR at my company called with a careful tone. "We've received an anonymous complaint about aggressive behavior toward neighbors." And yeah, that happened. The kind of sentence that squeezes your chest. So I emailed the deed and plat, and the county letter, and the inspector memo, and the security clips with timestamps. 506, 507, 505. The same figure cutting the same diagonal, the marigolds pressed flat, the herb fence kicked over, and my HR lead sighed and said, "We'll log this as harassment, keep records if more calls come in. We'll note the pattern." That was my twist. The moment I realized the harder they pushed, the more official paper I collected, and the more the paper would speak for me. When the HOA announced an emergency board meeting, I built a deck like it was for a federal judge. First slide the deed and subdivision plat zoomed on. The absence of easements. Second, the county letter with the seal. Front and center, third, the survey plates with those orange flags as a corner photo. Fourth, the city inspector's line. Complaint unfounded. Fifth, a clean timeline of harassment with dates and short, unemotional descriptions at the video clips with bold timestamps over the frame and a small inset of the trampled flowers. Then I printed a log and put every page in order. No adjectives, just events. The community center smelled like burnt coffee and floor cleaner folding chairs in rows. Monica's supporters filling the front three like they'd practiced the board at a plastic table with nameplates. Daniel Ruiz, the president, and the HOA's attorney. A calm woman with sharp eyes named Ava Chen. Public comment warmed the room with talk of harmony and fears of a neighborhood of locks and lawsuits. Then Monica presented patient voice with edges, a hand-drawn map. For 15 years, families used this path behind Lot 23 to reach the South Greenbelt. "Blocking it is divisive," she said, and clicked to the looming photo of my little gate. Then it was my turn. I didn't raise my voice. I let paper carry weight. "This is my deed and the subdivision plat. No easements recorded on my lot." Click. "County certified letter. No easements exist." Click. "Licensed survey with GPS coordinates. The gate sits within the boundary." Click. "City inspector memo. Complaint. Unfounded." Click. Then the security clips. 6, 7, 12, the same route, the stomp on marigolds, the kick to the herb fence, the look straight into the camera. The room shifted not to me or to Monica exactly, but to that big exhale. People do when facts put a leash on noise. Ava asked me one question. "Mr. Carter, did you receive any recorded documentation establishing a right-of-way?" I said no. She turned to Monica. Do you have any recorded documentation establishing a right-of-way across Lot 23? Monica flipped tabs that suddenly sounded loud. We have precedent, 15 years of open access, she said, and Ava nodded once. Precedent is not title tolerance, is not transfer. If the association did not record an easement, there is no right to use the owner's land. A fence does not limit freedom. It defines ownership. And that line felt like the hinge click in my chest. Monica snapped. He's dividing us. He's destroying what makes this neighborhood special. Daniel answered, tired and firm. We're discussing law, not feelings. The board stepped out. The projector ticked as it cooled my hands. Finally stopped shaking when they came back. Daniel read the decision. 6-1 to dismiss the violation against Mr. Carter. A low ripple moved across the chairs. Not applause, not anger, just release. 5-2 to censure President Price for misuse of authority, effective immediately. Ms. Price is removed as board president. The association will reimburse Mr. Carter for documented survey and related costs. $920, and adopts a policy requiring legal review and a professional survey. Before any boundary enforcement, Lit another page over, and Daniel read, written apologies to Mr. Carter from Ms. Price and Mr. Chase Price, acknowledging the lack of any recorded easement and the impropriety of prior conduct, to be posted in the next bulletin. And residence portal. The plastic gavel tapped plastic, and somehow still sounded like metal. And that's where the story ends for me. At the consequence, the nameplate turned face down beside a stack of agendas. Outside in the lot, the debate started again. In low voices. Some people said this was right. Some worried about a future of gates and locks. A few said something that surprised me. The tolerance had felt generous until it hardened into entitlement, and maybe they'd let too many lines blur for the sake of peace. I went home and oiled the hinge. The metallic click felt like breathing, and I looked at the anonymous note on my counter and thought about the difference between walls and rails. Walls are for keeping people out. Rails are for fairness. It's rails. Tell everyone where the edge is, so we don't shove each other off by accident. Maybe a locked gate says a lot about trust. Maybe trust without lines isn't trust at all. Maybe it's just hoping the bold don't get bolder. You tell me. I'm Evan. I locked my own gate. I was told that made me the problem paper. And Time disagreed. So was the board right to remove a president over this? Or did they go too far? Does long-standing habit become a community, right? Or is that just an excuse we use until somebody finally says no? Where's the line between generosity and entitlement? Where you live, drop your take in the comments. City and time, too. And if you've seen a version of this on your street, tell me how it ended. And if you want more real stories about power lines and what it costs to draw them, hit subscribe and stick around.